What's going on, guys? This is K0NK with Ham Radio Networking here for another video. And today we're going to be creating an XLX reflector, and it's super easy. And I will be showing you how to do it right here in this how-to tutorial on getting your own XLX reflector, and also showing you how you can get this set up for YSF, so you can have DStar and YSF all linked together. And if you want to and you have the knowledge, you can also have DMR linked in as well. So I want to give a huge shout out to N5 AMD's digital voice resource here for how to create an XLX DStar DMR YSF reflector. It's got everything that you could ever possibly need to get it working, and we're going to be using this article to be showing you how you can make the reflector. So with this reflector, you will have XLX, which will be for YSF and DStar. Then you'll have a DCS and XRF reflector. Both of those will be for DStar as well. The REF reflectors is not part of this. It's a closed source, and they don't let you do the REF reflectors anymore. So to get started, you will need a Linux machine. This can be Debian, Ubuntu, whatever. You can host it in the cloud. If you are going to host it in the cloud, you can use Linode or Vultr and just get a 2 GB 1 vCPU core. Install Debian on it. Once it's installed, log into it via SSH, or if you're doing this for a home server, create a virtual machine, get Debian on it, and set your passwords and stuff like that. And then once you have a clean install, you'll do this. So the first thing that we're going to have to do before we start running the script that installs the XLX reflector is getting git. So basically you just run sudo apt install git, and it'll if it's installed, then it'll say this. If it's not, it'll pop up a bunch of other things, and then it'll tell you Y or no, which is yes or no, and you just click Y, enter, and then it'll install it. For root, you don't have to do sudo, but for this sake, most people will have they won't be inside root, and they'll need sudo, so that's why I typed that in here. For all those people who are wondering, why the heck did you do that if you're in root? This is why. So, how to install here. So, basically what we're going to do is we're going to copy all of this. Just copy it, then go into your terminal, right click to paste it in. It's going to clone it, and then it's going to do that super fast. And then if you see this right here, that means it's good to go. Hit enter, and then it'll ask you for what do you want your XLX / XRF number. So we're going to have to look at some databases to see what numbers are available. To do that, there is going to be a link in the description, pystar.uk/downloads dextrahosttxt, and in here is all the current registered XRF reflectors. And so this will also be the same thing for XLX reflectors. XRF and XLX are two different reflectors, but with this they run on basically the same thing, so you don't have to worry about, most of the time you don't have to worry about the numbers getting confused with XLX. So basically you just gotta scroll down through this list until you see a number that someone did not take. There is only around 300 reflectors left, so it'll be really hard. So if we see here, in between XRF 2222 and XRF 224, right here, there's not 223 in between these two, which means that XRF / XLX 223 is currently available. So you got to make sure you get an unused number, or else it will not work. So in here, we'll do 223 because that's unused. And then it's going to ask you for the FQDN of the XLX reflector dashboard. So you will need to get the IP address of your server, or you will have to register an FQDN. One of the best places to do that is afraid.org or DuckDNS. Both of those work really well. For the sake of this, I'm just going to use the current I'm just going to get the IP of the server. address of the server, which I have right here written down on a piece of paper, and you can just input the IP address like so. Hit enter, and that's going to ask you for the email address. I'm going to put in my email address, colin@k0nk.com. Put your email address in there, and then you're going to have to put in that call sign for the admin. So basically just input your call sign, or input the call sign of whoever this is going to be the admin of the Reflector. So I'll just put in my call sign. So it's going to do a whole bunch of stuff. Feel free to get a drink or something like that. While it does its thing, it's going to take about a minute or two to get everything downloaded, unpacked, and compiled. So that is what it's doing right now. Okay, so once you see this reflector here, it says XLD is finished installing and ready to use. Please read the following. So here it's just telling you where you can do stuff. So I would recommend you just copy this and paste it in a notepad for further documentation. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to copy the URL/IP address for the dashboard, and we're going to paste it into the thing. Okay, so I had to do a little troubleshooting here, and I had an error where it said that the thing is not readable. So what I had to do, and if you get that error where it says this thing right here is not readable, basically just go into var.log in the command line, which will be cd var.log, then click ls, and if you see that lxxd.pid is right here, do this command mv, which means move, and then change the lxxd.pid to lxxd.xml, and that will fix the problem if you do run into that problem. I have not ran into that problem until just now doing this documentation. So if you go to the URL of the IP address of the server, whichever one you inputted in earlier, you should see this right here with your email here at the bottom, which that means that it should have installed successfully. So let's do some configuration. So now that the XLX dashboard is working, now let's go back to the documentation of how to create. So if we scroll down, if you ever need to like reboot the server, you just use system control and then one of these commands, and then lxxd. So the lxxd is the system that does this. So after the install, and if you're wanting this to be a public reflector, which is what probably most you want it to be, as long as your web dashboard is available, basically all calling home is just connecting to whatever the XLX reflector is. I don't know if that's PyStar or something else, but it just needs to go out and say that we want this reflector to be public. So you have to edit this configuration file. So I'll just copy this, and then I'm going to do nano, which is the text editor, var there. And I see that there's an extra space here, so I will remove the space there, and then hit enter. And now you have this configuration. So if we scroll down a little bit, almost to the bottom, you'll see this calling home, and then it says active. So we want to change this from false to true. So with that, we will be connecting to, once we click Control O, that means that this reflector should be online, and people could connect to it as long as it's in the database, which we'll talk about that later. So once you edit that, basically all you need to do is you need to do systemctl restart lxxd, and that'll restart the system. That way it goes out and that new change you just submitted works. So Now what you have to do is you probably want to configure the server a little bit. So basically, go back into that configuration file, and we'll change a few things. So if you see here, right in here, it'll say the array A, B, C, D. These are the modules, okay? If you're familiar with DStar, you know what these are. So for module A, if you go inside these brackets here, you can name it. So if I want module A to be local traffic, I can do that. And if I want module B to be, let's say, YSF traffic, and if, let's say, I want module C to be stuff for, like, all-star link, let's say you want to bridge an all-star link to it, you can do that, and you can rename it. So I'll show you the example of that right here. So if we just go into the new Reflector dashboard, and if we go into module list, it'll say international, regional, and national, and it'll say module A, B, and C. And then the rest of them that are enabled will just have this dash through it that says there is no name for it. So if we go back here, whatever we change here will change what this says right here. So if we hit Control O, that means to write it, and you just refresh this, it'll say local traffic, YSF traffic, all-star link, and stuff like that, which is really, really cool. And let's say you don't want all these modules. You don't want module A, B, C, D. So let's say you want just 2 modules. Let's say you just want A and you want C, which unfortunately you can't do that. You either have to have A or B, or A through C, or A through D. So to do that, if let's say you don't want all of these right here done, you can just go in here, here at the top where it says number of modules. We're going to change that from 10 to 3. And whatever number you put in, let's say you want 3, that'll do A through C, which is the first 3 alphabets of the number. If you do 26, it'll do A through Z, which means it'll have all 26 modules, which is the maximum number of modules you can have. I'm just going to do 3, hit Control O to save it, and then now it's already reloaded this for us, and now we just see modules A through C, so you don't see all those extra ones. But if you do want those extra ones, you can have more or less modules, depending on what your needs for. And then here, you can change, basically, the meta description. So this says XLX is a DStar reflector system for all ham radio operators. You can change that to stuff like XLX, and then your node number, not your node number, but your reflector number, which in this case it's 223, dashboard, Control O, and then if you, let's say, give this to someone and they see the link, that'll be one of the hovers for it. And if we go down here, these are the keywords for it, for stuff like if a search engine wants to look it up, it can. This will be the meta author, so if you have this call sign and stuff, it'll show you that's what it is. And yeah, that's how you can edit this right here, which is really, really cool. With that, that is just about the most customization you want. And if, let's say, you actually, instead of using an IP address, you use let's say a URL, you can change this from it being the IP address to, let's say, you have an XLX, so you want xlx223.duckdns.org, which is a lot of ham radio operators use it, and then you have a duck DNS record where people from xlx223.duckdns.org will be able to see it, as long as duck DNS you have the A record point to the IP address of the server. I'm just going to leave this back at what it was, so I'm going to click no. That way it won't save the changes, and I'll just go back into the file. So if we scroll down here, you can always change stuff like that. So this is the database server. Do not change this unless you really know what you're doing and you need to change it for some reason. Now here you can put in your country for more customization. So I'm just going to put USA because we're based out of the USA. And stuff like that. And you see where I'm going. You can customize everything. Just go through the whole file, look at what you can customize, and stuff like that. So once you have that file nice and saved, you should see the dashboard customized to your liking. And if you want a YSF reflector, you used to have to register for it, and then you didn't have to register for it. It would automatically register for you, or it would just automatically do it. But now, for some reason, it would not automatically register for me. So basically, just go to register.ysfreflector.de. Links, all these links will be in the description. Just create an account. I'm going to put in my account. And once you are logged in, you should see log out, change password, show my YSF reflectors. Click here on register reflector. And so put the ID. So basically, what I recommend you do is you go to the DStar.uk. Scroll down to where you see YSF mode and do YSF reflectors. Now, what I recommend doing is doing either 00223, which is 223 stands for the numbers of your YSF reflector. And if let's say you see 3 things here, 1/3, hit enter, and it'll scroll through the next one. And as long as there's not a 00223 on this side, right here, anywhere, once you scroll through it, then you should be good. So I don't see any 00223s anywhere on this side. And then you can do the same thing for FCS. So I'll do 00223. And you see there is a FCS reflector there. So you will probably not want to use that reflector. So what you can do is instead of using 00223, you could say, let's say 11223 or whatever number you want. And what I did is 22233 or 23, which is the first 2 digits of whatever the first digit of your reflector is, and then the reflector number right there. If you still can't get it, just choose any number till you find they're the same. That number is not an FCS reflector, and that number is also not a YSF reflector. And to pop this thing out, to search for it, you just do Control F. And with that, then you just input the ID. I'm just going to do some random one, which is 12223. You gotta make sure that is, and then basically just put in XLX 223 or whatever your XLX number is right here. Description, you can do that XLX reflector or whatever you want the description to be. I'm just going to do XLX 223. Put in the host name. So if let's say you have a duck DNS or something pointing to it, you put that there. Otherwise, just put your IP address of the server. And let's say your DNS records change, or your IP address changes and you're using IP addresses, and you don't have a static one. You will have to go. You will have to manually go and re-update that, which is a big pain in the butt. So what I recommend you do is you just get a duck DNS record and have it point to the server, and that way all you have to do is change one thing. With the XLX reflector, it uses a port 42000 by default. Make sure that you put your country in. This is the United States. Put your call sign in. Put your email address of the same email address as your account is. Dashboard URL. So we're just going to do the dashboard, which is my IP address for the server. And then let's say it's a bridge to something you can put there. Then you click Submit YSF Reflector. You should get an email saying for an activation. And then once you do an activation, within an hour you should see a email that says your YSF Reflector is up. But for this demonstration, I'm not going to do that because I'm deleting this YSF Reflector. So let's talk about registration. So you will have to refresh this because right when you make your XLX or X/XRF reflector, you won't automatically see it populate in DStar. So you will have to wait in between. Usually it takes an hour or two, sometimes up to 24 hours. But once you go and do the calling home, active equal true there, which I showed it towards the beginning of the video. You just type in your number for your reflector, just as 223, and just hit it until you see it on one of these lines where it says XRF right here. And you can also just do XRF 223. And I don't have it registered yet. It hasn't refreshed, but within a few hours you should see this here. If it doesn't do it in 24 hours, then you probably did something wrong. So, with that, let's talk about one more thing. And this is going to be getting your reflector on forwarding. So, if you look at this documentation, scroll down towards the bottom, it'll tell you the network port. So if you want your XLX reflector dashboard open to the internet where anyone can view it, you will have to open ports 80 and 443, which is very, very dangerous, and I do not recommend it unless you're using a next generation firewall and you're a networking geek. If you want, I would just ignore SSH. Opening that on the network isn't really a good idea. You can use, if you need to access the server over command line, you can do that on your local home network. For DMR MMDVM, if you're using DMR, you have to port forward this port. Most of you are not, because it takes a lot to set that stuff up, so ignore this port. Make sure you have the D+ protocol. If you're using a YSF, then you must port forward the YSF protocol port. And if you're using A and B transcoding, you will have to port forward that, but you probably will not have to do that. I'm not 100% sure. If for some reason it says it's registered, but it's not working, then you might need to port forward this. But I don't know if you need to port forward this or not. You will have to port forward the DCS protocol and the DXtra protocol to be able to get the DCS and the DX protocol to work for people that are trying to connect to your reflector. And then I believe you have to port forward this as well, but I'm not 100% sure. I run this all in my home cloud. It's basically a server with a bunch of public IP addresses, so I don't have to port forward. If you're doing this in the cloud, you don't have to worry about port forwarding. But if you are running this at your home, you will have to port forward. So with this, I believe I covered everything that you need to do. I will leave a bunch of links in the description, and if you have troubleshooting, I guess this XLX form right here can help you out. Or just leave a comment, and I will see the best that I can do. And if for some reason you decided that the number of your XLX reflector is taken, if you edit this file here, under the arguments, it'll say XLX and then your number. Just change that number, restart the server, and then it'll hopefully change your XLX reflector number if you needed to do that. So, like, dislike, tell a comment if you made your XLX reflector, and so I can test it out for you and see how it's working, so I can check it out. And just for the pure thing of having public and where people can see that it is, so people can join. This is my XLX reflector server. It looks different. I am not going to cover how to make it look like this and have your own images. You're going to have to learn CSS and a little bit of basic of HTML and stuff like that to do that, which I bet some of you do know the basics of stuff like that. So, anyways, thank you for watching this video. 73.